one thing I remember from our run was that I probably needed to shrink the screen, but you know what? I actually think it's okay. I guess we'll see on YouTube. I can always adjust it.
Right now it looks good on YouTube. Are we live? Let me see. Oh yeah, we're live on YouTube. Let me send you the link. But hmm. Okay, cancel. Not sure why all the info isn't there anymore about the stream, but I guess it's okay. What do I need to do? No. Okay. Copy link. Right in the chat. Everyone. And then here we go. All right, we have 5 people there already, and we're not even started. That's great.
Cool.
Okay, hi everyone. Okay. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, we're ready to go whenever you want.
Cool.
We can get started.
I sent a little email out
Oh, cool.
to the folks registered, so I
Oh,
told them,
nice. Yeah.
yeah.
With
So I
the
think
link, yeah,
it's
we can take a little bit of time. Wait until we can wait those next 5 minutes before we get started with the actual class. We can just chat a little bit, like
sure, yeah.
yeah. What have you been up to lately? I mean, there's this class you're doing. Are you also working on any kind of projects like composing stuff, writing music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always working on a variety of different, musical projects, productions for Sync. I'm still an active Sync artist, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, working on just different uh, for different spots that come in and helping other artists kind of figure out their path forward when it comes to these things. So just keeping busy, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And you have also your business on the side, like side business, side hustle of what, like short-term rentals, or what
Oh
is your
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a little rental property in
nice?
New Jersey, where I'm from, and so that keeps me busy too, especially during the summer months.
Yeah, where are you based now?
Right now, I'm in Western Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Where, like, since when did you move there?
Well, I've been in Massachusetts on and off for a long time. I went to school in Boston,
Uh,
but then I made my way out here probably 2.5-ish years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you went on campus at Berkeley.
Yes. Yep. I was on campus there for 4 years. Did their
How was that?
songwriting. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I bet. Like, is like how was it? Like the whole experience there.
Oh my goodness, it was intense. I mean, a
Uh,
full semester at a regular college is 4 or 5 classes. A full semester at Berkeley is 8 or 9.
mm,
So and that's a lot of it is performance based. So you have to memorize and perform music, and I was working also at least 15 hours a week just to pay my rent. So it was intense. It was a true lesson in time management and prioritizing your goals. but it was incredible. I mean, there's just so much creativity and inspiration around you all the time. It's infectious, you know?
Yeah, I bet. Like, how were the teachers? Like, what was your favorite thing about being there?
Yeah, the teachers are amazing. I mean, that's half of the joy. I don't my favorite thing about being there, that's hard to pin down one thing, but um I don't know. I think probably just the vast amount of opportunity that's there
Hmm.
just to kind of really dig in and do everything, you know, get try your hand at everything. Getting in the studios, performing, gigging, recording, you know, they make you conduct, you know, you just get to taste every little corner of the music industry, and in that way it's just really it's inspiring, and you kind of really figure out what you love to do.
Did it ever got like overwhelming a little bit because you get there's you named so many different kind of things where like at some point d- did you ever have the fear that you would miss out on something if you put too much energy on one of the things? So like to give an example, I studied music performance and basically all what I was doing was practicing my violin.
Mm,
um, but it seemed like your experience in college was a lot more, I would say there was a lot more variety
mm,
in your experience than I mean I was still doing orchestra and music theory and then all of these things and history, and then like I had like this analysis class that was very deep into like listening to chord progression and all of this, but to be
yeah.
honest, like, all my focus and energy was really just on practicing.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, because I went in kind of knowing that I didn't want to focus on an instrument and I wanted to focus more on becoming a songwriter, that
Yeah.
that's why a lot of my time, I think I wanted to get my feet wet in a little bit of everything to kind of figure out excuse me, figure out a path for my songwriting.
Mm.
But yeah, for sure, there were lots of people there who were just kind of heads down, doing their instrument, performing on that instrument, practicing on that instrument. And I guess in that way, their experience may have been a little more concentrated. Um, but yeah, you see just a bunch of everything. And that's kind of also the beauty of being there, is you get to witness tons of people have different experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And you
Yeah.
feel you got everything out of it, like that you no regrets or things that you would have changed about your experience there.
I mean, actually, I do have regrets, and the only regret was that I I wish I were the person I am now then, right? Because
Mm.
you know, I feel like me now would have maximized that opportunity even more,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But you have to go through that to become the person you are now, right? So it's this
Mm.
impossible sort of catch 22. But yeah, overall I think I just, you know, I wish I weren't 18 when I went. I wish I was, you know, 29. So, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I totally understand what you mean.
yeah.
Um, I guess it's a good, yeah, it's a very good point. Sometime maybe we should wait before or wait yeah,
Well, and
before.
it's a whole nother conversation, but it begs the question of like, should we be sending kids to college at 18? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do we really know what the heck we're doing at 18? I feel like I still don't know what the heck I'm doing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh, that's a
So,
very good point. Like
but
where I grew up in Montreal, we have a school that is preparatory to go to college, to go to actual university,
yeah.
and you have to go there if you want to go to university.
Mm,
There's no, but the thing is, we don't have middle school in Montreal, so it's just elementary school, high school, and then you have 2 years of that school that prepares you to go to college. So you basically go there and you study whatever you want. Like if you want to study music, you go and do that degree in music that will then prepare you to go to university. But that
mm.
school is basically free.
Oh, that's great.
It's like $150 per year or something like this. You just pay like the subscription fees, but it's the teachers that teach there. Most of them also teach at different colleges like
Yeah.
around Montreal. So you get to experience a little bit what it will be, what kind of teacher, what it is, the kind of class you will have in university, but at a very, very low cost. And
Yeah.
then if you still want to push after this, then you can go to university. I think it's a system that is really well thought that should exist here, I guess. Too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think half the issue is that people feel, I mean, they or their parents end up paying so much money, because you
Hmm.
got to make a decision, right? And it's 60, 70,000 at least. And then I think what happens is people feel like, well, I'm already this deep into the hole. I should just finish it out.
Oh
And
yeah,
instead of having that natural built-in, sort of process for feeling it out without there being such a cost, because it's not so easy to switch colleges or campuses or schools. I mean, there's like, you got to reapply and you have to move sometimes. It's like, it's kind of this like commitment, for 4 years. So I think something like that would be incredible. And I do see some people doing that with community colleges
yes,
in their
yeah.
local areas. I mean, they're not free, but well, some of them are, but they're
They're,
definitely much more affordable. And people kind of do that sort of same thing.
oh yeah, definitely. Okay, some people are asking what nationality are you?
Oh, I am half Egyptian and half Italian.
Oh, cool. As because someone asked also, how old are you? And I answered, it's a secret. But yeah, no, the nationalities are not a secret. I mean, my age is not a secret too. I don't really mind, but yeah, and I'm just Canadian, so yeah, French Canadian.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I guess whenever you want to start,
All
it's
right.
actually good to. It was a nice talk to start
Yeah.
because kind of like gives us an idea of where you've been before and like what you talked about being so young when you go to school. And I guess I'm sure you can also relate to this that you learn a lot in school, but after this, when you get in the quote unquote real world,
Yeah.
it's you kind of have to learn a lot faster. And maybe that's like if you want to make it, you kind of
Totally.
really have to go faster. And that's probably when you start realizing, wow, if I had this ethic when I was in school, if I understood how much it mattered to put that much more work, then I would have probably put more effort. And I feel exactly the same as what you were saying about
Yeah.
what I personally was in college. But yeah, there's
Well,
no turning back.
there's no turning back, and maybe, the lessons learned here today can help give someone a little clarity on, something that they can do to move forward if they're kind of in that space trying to figure out their path. So, all right, well, I am ready to dive in if you are.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, let's do this. So we do have quite a bit to cover, but if you have any questions or any thoughts, please just interrupt me and let me know. And we'll chat. So this is Get Synced, the secret to making money from your music. We're going to be talking all about sync licensing and how it works, how to get into it, and how to kind of start heading in that direction. So it makes sense if you're here for the following reasons and many others. A couple reasons that I hear people wanting to kind of look into sync. They include these, and this isn't a laundry list, but a lot of people are tired of posting to social media, and also we don't know if we're going to even have TikTok and social media for much longer, so time will tell. Um, but you may just be curious about how to make more money from your music, what other avenues are available, or you could be potentially burnt out trying to, make a music career happen and work, and you just can't get any traction. You're not making any progress. Or you're just passionate about making music and curious about what the options are for making a living. So, sync licensing is good for you if you are a music maker looking for ways to take control of your music career, because sync is very You have great control over the rights and the creative process. So for people who really like that and value that, sync is a great option. It's obviously a great option if you want to earn more money from your music, but you're not sure how. Um, the third point is similar to the first, but you're someone who doesn't want to give up ownership and creative freedom, so you don't really want to go the route of a publishing deal or record deal. You kind of want to keep things independent, or you just want the flexibility of being able to have a creative process that earns you money that you can kind of take anywhere you want to go. Because as long as you have a simple rig with you, you can kind of make this music in the comfort of your own home whenever you want. You kind of become a freelancer in that sense. So I'll just give, I mean, I know we talked a bit, but for anyone who missed that, I'll just give a quick 411 on me. So my name is Nismah. I am a songwriter and a music producer. I'm an entrepreneur, and I consider myself a dreamer. I'm very passionate about empowering others to build their dream lives. In terms of sync, I've been very fortunate to be able to find some great success over the years. I've been doing sync now for at least 7 years, if not longer. Actually, my first sync I got when I was 13, but I got more fully into it when right after I graduated college, actually. So these are just a few of the spots that I've been able to secure, and it's been such a great journey. Here's a couple more receipts, um, just to kind of help keep things in perspective. So I just want to get really clear on what we're gonna talk about today, and what you'll actually be able to walk away with. So you're gonna be able to understand exactly what sync licensing is and how it works. You're gonna know who the people are that you need to know, and I'm gonna show you how to reach them. We're going to go through the step-by-step process of landing a paid placement. So everything from writing the song to cashing the check, the licensing fee check, and kind of all the steps in between. How much you can expect to be paid, the realistic amounts, and when and how often. And then we're also going to talk about how to write and produce music that works for film and TV, so the actual do's and don'ts there. We're going to go through some common myths, and I'm going to help clarify some of the stuff around that. And then just a quick section for how to know if you're ready to try your hand at writing music for film and TV. And then I'm going to give you some really, really easy things you can do today to jumpstart your journey in sync licensing. So, like I said, we got a lot to cover, but let's hit the ground running. So, what is sync? Sync stands for, or it's short for, synchronization licensing. Simply put, it's the process of securing a license in order to synchronize a piece of music with a piece of moving visual media. So that's a lot of gobbledygook for the music that you hear in TV shows, commercials, and films, right? It's just that there's this extra piece of needing to procure a license. So it's really no different than if you have a yard sale or a tag sale and you need to go to the township and get a permit, right? It's the same thing. So any production company that has a piece of moving media, i.e., a commercial or a TV show or a movie, they're required to secure and pay a license to the owner of the music in order to use that music, which is good news for us. So I'll just give you a quick example. So Target, let's say they have a new ad promoting their summer clothing line, and they want to use the song Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. It's a great song, right? So Target would be responsible for paying a synchronization license fee to whoever owns the master and publishing of that song. So let's get into the nitty gritties, right? Who are we talking about? Who are the people that are involved in this process, right? So we're going to go top to bottom. Excuse me. So we'll go from the top. So at the production company, we just mentioned Target, that in our example, right? So they are the entity that is producing or paying for the ad or the TV show or film, etc. And what they do is they hire someone called a music supervisor, and it's that person's job to source music for their spot. That's the lingo, sync lingo's spot to refer to the actual, TV show or whatever, right? So that brings us right down to the music supervisor. Their job is to source the music. So how they do that is they form relationships with licensing agencies and musicians directly in order to source that music. So they will send down a request that they got from the top, right? And they'll send it to their network of agencies and musicians, and they'll say, "Hey, I need, an up-tempo pop song, or I need a Celtic Irish jig, whatever it may be, right?" And so they'll go down the line and ask for that music. And so the third person we're working with here, these are the people that the musicians, you and I, are really going to want to be forming relationships with. So, because these folks, they act as the middlemen, so to speak. So their job is to grow and maintain a high quality catalog of music that works for film and TV. And they send options to music supervisors when they are requested, right? They also negotiate the licensing fees and they pay out the musicians. So, like I said, they're this middleman that kind of acts between the music supervisors and the musicians. And that's finally where you and I come in. So, as musicians, we are going to want to be creating this music to be added into these agency catalogs, right? So, we need to be understanding exactly what the agencies are looking for, what the music supervisors are looking for, and creating music that fits those needs so that when our music gets pitched, it has a higher chance of actually getting chosen by the music supervisor. So, how do we get in touch with these people? So, the licensing agencies, first off, right? Many of them, I would say probably the majority, accept unsolicited material. What that means is you don't need an in order to send music. Most of these sites or most of these agencies have submission portals or submission forms right on their websites, and you just have to go and search. And a quick Google search will yield you literally hundreds of results. You can spend all day going through the different O's on the Google, and you will not run out of potential agencies. Another way to go is if you want to work directly with music supervisors and kind of cut out the middleman, so to speak. I would recommend you go on LinkedIn or some other networking site and you just search music supervisors and start making connections, right? The only thing though is there's a big word of caution here that I'm going to put. You have to do some due diligence before you start any of this searching. And the reason for that is because these people, either music supervisors or agencies, they get inundated, as you can imagine, on a daily basis with literally hundreds of requests. So it will be beneficial to you and to them and to the potential relationship you're forming with them to do some research to make sure that the music you're making, the music you have to provide, actually fits their needs, right? Because it's a waste of your time if you're a hip hop artist to send your music to a music supervisor who places singer songwriter music, right? It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of your effort, and it's also puts a bad taste in their mouth because you clearly didn't do your research, right? So it's just one thing to kind of really make sure you have in place before you go and start kind of spamming these people. You want to make sure that your music is a good fit. So we're going to jump right into how does this process actually work. So from creating the song to getting the placement. So the first thing is that you're going to understand and learn how to write songs that work for film and TV, and then you're going to go and you're going to write them. And then you're going to submit those songs once they're finished, of course. No demos allowed here. You're going to submit those songs to licensing agencies, hoping with the goal that they accept those songs into their catalogs, right? So let's assume that the music is accepted into their catalog. So now the licensing agency receives a brief for a spot from a music supervisor. So it's an opportunity. The agency then submits your song because it happens to work for the spot, and they'll send it along with other options for consideration to the music supervisor. In this instance, though, the music supervisor has selected your song for the spot. That means you got a placement. Congratulations. So, what happens then is once the placement is secured, um, or set, they call it, then the production company will remit the licensing fee to the licensing agency. So they're not going to pay you directly, right? Because the licensing agency is that middleman again. So um, they're collecting that fee on your behalf, and they're taking their cut, of course, right? So you see how that works. So they typically take anywhere between 30 to 50%, and they'll pay you the rest. And then you cash your check and celebrate your win. So this is a very simple, watered down, kind of step by step explanation of how this works. And obviously, there's a lot of missing context and details. But this is really as simple as it is. So it's a matter of creating the music, submitting it, and then waiting and being patient over time for when your music actually gets pitched and placed in those opportunities. So let's get to the fun stuff, which is what money are we talking about here, right? How much are we actually making with sync licensing, or the potential? So I put this screenshot over on the right just to show you, proof, right, quote unquote, that you can make great money with sync licensing. So in my experience, the the fees, the upfront fees, right? So it's a one-time upfront fee. They range anywhere from, I mean, I've seen $100 really, but typically they're $500 for smaller TV spots, up to a quarter of a million plus for larger feature film or ad spots. I mean, think of the Super Bowl, for example. Those people are getting paid a pretty penny for the use of their music, just because it's such a broadly a watched show or program. So this upfront licensing fee is paid directly to you by the licensing agency that secured the placement. So one quick thing at the top here that I forgot to mention is that you get paid twice in sync. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about sync. So we're going to cover that second time right now. So the second way you get paid, and this is truly passive income, right? Like the definition of passive. You get performance royalties for when your song is placed and it actually airs on the TV show or in the movie, right? So these can range from pennies, and I've seen many royalty statements that have paid me pennies, but they can also pay up to thousands of dollars. And this is delayed, right? So, because these performance royalties are paid out usually months after the show or the movie airs, right? And they're collected by your performing rights organization. So if you're not registered with a PRO, then that's an absolute must do. In the USA, I know the ones that are available are ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI, but I think CSAC is invite only. So you're going to want to make sure you get registered either with ASCAP or BMI so that you make sure you don't miss out on these royalties. And honestly, most licensing agencies won't work with you if you're not registered with a PRO. So, yeah, just the timing that you can expect to see with these. So, on the upfront licensing fee, after you've gotten the news that your song has been placed, you can expect to wait anywhere from 1 to 6 months from the date of the placement to see that check. And this ranges really because a lot of agencies and production companies, they work on quarterly schedules, so they'll pay out everything for the first quarter at the end of that quarter, right? They're not paying it right away, so things are a little bit delayed in that regard. And then the performance royalties, they come even on a longer delay because you're typically paid out 3 to 9 months after the air date. And the time between the placement and the air date can also be, anywhere from 1 day to 1 year. And I've seen that happen. So you really kind of have to set it and forget it with this, and trust that over time everything will kind of catch up. So I'm going to pause there and give you a chance to make any comments or questions, and then we can get into actually how to write music for sync. Just checking the stream here. Okay. So let's keep it moving. All right. Looking good here. So, how to actually write for sync, right? So, we want, when it comes to our lyrics, we want them to be very universal. So we want to avoid specific names, specific cities, specific places. And the reason for this is because, let's say, for example, they're looking for a spot um, for a show that takes place in Chicago. And everything about your song is perfect, except in the song you mention the city Los Angeles. That's going to knock your song right out of the running, right? So take that and apply it across, these other specifics like names and places and, things that kind of make your song not very versatile in its use, right? So we want to write universal lyrics. The melodies, you want to keep them simple and catchy. So remember that the purpose of writing music for film and TV is really uh, to help underscore what's happening in the scene, as opposed to making the music be the main character, right, front and center. So in this way, you want your melodies to be simple and catchy and not too distracting. When you're writing for ads, you want to generally use an upbeat and a happy tone, but you can explore all other tones for TV and film. Some common themes, so lyrical themes that you want to write for that will give you a better chance at getting your song placed, right? You want to write about home, together, swagger, empowerment. It's a new day, it's a good day, fresh start, best friends, love. Just think of all of the things that, TV shows cover and movies. Like, it's the human experience, right? So definitely don't have to overthink it. What are people writing about? They're writing about these things, right? So you should also write about them in your music. You want to make sure that they have clear, distinguishable sections. So the verse should be clear from the pre-chorus, should be clear from the post. And this is because music editors really have a limited amount of time to fit things in. So, what that means is they need to be able to cut and splice your song at very distinct points to make it work. So, the more clear and distinguishable your sections are, the better. And the great thing is that all genres are welcome. All right, moving right along. So, here's what music supervisors are actually looking for when they are deciding on what music to place. So your song should have a strong and clear chorus, theme, hook, whatever, however you want to describe it. It needs to be really, really obvious what it's about, right? It can't be too wishy washy in what it's about and overly complicated. And that's because the lyrics need to support what's going on in the scene. And if it's not clear that what's going on in the song is about what's going on in the scene, the song's not going to work for that scene, right? And they'll move on to the next one. They're looking for multiple opportunities within the same song. So, what that means is, number one, if you have a vocal track, they're also looking to see if they can use just the instrumental or pieces of just the instrumental, right? So, and then this also harkens back to the last slide where we talked about having clear, distinguishable sections. So the more hooks or sections you have in your song, the better, because it's the more that they can use with the same song. And then this is really important. The last point is that the song should be easy to clear. And what that means is everyone who owns the song or has a right to the song has given permission for the music supervisor to use the song, and it needs to be properly registered with your performing rights organization, right? So make sure you have all those ducks in a row, and your song will have that much higher of a chance of actually getting placed. And the secret sauce, right, that everyone knows but nobody talks about is do not try to write a sync song. And I know that that seems counterintuitive, but really what this means is your song cannot be too on the nose. So it can't sound like you're trying to write a song for film and TV. It has to be it has to strike that perfect balance between a song that sounds like its own individual song with its own individual personality that also happens to work for film and TV. And I promise, as you go along on your sync journey and you get more practice in this, you're going to understand this more and more. All right, let's take a few minutes just to bust some myths and get to the truths of those matters about sync. So you don't need a fancy studio. A basic setup works just fine, and this is especially true if you're not a producer or if you're not a singer. If you're just a songwriter, then really all you need is an internet connection, right? You have to produce or be able to pay for expensive production. Absolutely not. You can very quickly and easily team up with producers to make songs and split profits. And this is how I got started because I did not know how to produce music when I got into sync. The myth that you need connections and a network. You don't. As I said before, many agencies accept unsolicited music and have info to submit that music right on their websites. So it's just a matter of doing the research. You don't need a ton of free time. And the reason is because each single song that you make can yield unlimited placements. And so it makes sense that you would focus on creating even just a handful of quality songs that work really well in film and TV over just making a bunch of songs that kind of work well. So you don't need a ton of free time. You just need to make sure you understand what you're doing and and make an effort to make sure that you keep that quality of the song up. Okay. Are you ready to write for sync? If you can write a full song with lyrics or you're willing to collaborate with others who can, you're ready to write for sync. If you can produce music or you're willing to collaborate with others who can, you are ready to write for sync. If you can record vocals or you're willing to collaborate with others who can, guess what? You're ready to write for sync. And here's the kicker though. You are willing to commit to working at this until you see results because sync is a long game. It is not a get rich quick thing. Unlike what a lot of people think, it's something that takes time and commitment and patience to see it through. But notice that the first three things you don't have to have on your own. You don't need to be able to write songs or produce or record vocals. You just need to be willing to collaborate and find people who have those strengths. So here are three things that you can do today to get started in sync. And these each take less than 30 minutes, I guarantee you. So the first thing is you can go to Facebook and search for sync licensing groups. They're free and there's tons of them and you just join them. I would say pick 2 or 3 that look good to you and join them. Then get in there and start sharing some music and getting feedback from other members. Then identify a few people you resonate with in that group and reach out. Maybe you can just start a conversation or you can schedule a co-writing session. But what happens is when you get connected with other musicians who are already writing for sync, you automatically get connected to their network of people. It's the nature of networking, right? So get in there and do that today. Another thing you can do, go to tunefind.com. This is a site that explains and shows where all of the music comes from, or all of the music that's on different TV shows and movies and the names of the songs. So go to tunefind.com and look up the music from some of your favorite shows. And then try to identify one song, just one song that you could see yourself creating. So it's something similar to what you can make or something that you would enjoy making, right? And then set a goal to finish creating one song that sounds and feels similar to the one that you chose. I'm not saying copy the song. I'm saying use that song as inspiration, right? And then create one that is along a similar feel, right? And then the last thing you can do is you can book a call with me and you can get actionable feedback on your songs. And I'll help you get clarity on what you need to do next to move the needle. So that brings us to the Q&A. So I know we probably don't have much action going on here.
on the chat, there's not much. There hasn't been much questions.
Yeah, no, that's all good.
I have I mean, yeah, I had questions, but then I didn't want to interrupt you, and um I kind of forgot most of them.
Well, let me ask you
Well,
this: what is what, if anything, has been your experience, Louis, in sync? Have you done any of this before?
I have not. I've never done sync like this. I did compose music for film and TV, but it was like I knew someone that was like they were doing like a documentary or a certain commercial for something, and then it just happened that he asked me to compose or to help compose a song.
Okay.
um, my experience is a lot more like in session recording. Like let's
Mm-hmm.
say I get let's say I had a lot of gigs like this where people would ask me to record some violin tracks
Yeah.
for a certain thing. Actually, this was one of my questions. So
Mm.
I think that a lot of people that are interested in also getting, like even just getting started in recording, and then probably like as they get more into this, into getting to make money with their music. I believe that many people don't know what is like a small bedroom setup
Mm.
versus like a studio, and like
Right.
what is like the basic gear that they would need. Let's say like what would you suggest could be like a good first piece of gear to buy as someone that is already pretty experienced in playing music, composing, but now they
Yeah.
want to get into recording, producing their own music, and they want to get into sync licensing. What could be a good piece of gear for them to buy?
Totally. That's a great question. I think the first thing I would say is it depends on if they're a singer and if they intend on recording their own vocals. So if you're a
Hmm.
singer, then I would suggest get a semi-quality microphone somewhere in the range of $200 to $300. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm recording on an AT 2020, and I record all my vocals on this, and I think it's $100, right? So you
Or,
really don't need anything fancy to get going. You just have to know how to use it, right? And then just make sure you have an audio interface. Uh,
mhm.
uh, Again, you can use a simple Scarlett. You know, again, another 100 200 bucks to get going, and then a simple recording software to record into. I use Logic Pro, but if you're just getting started and you just want to gain some experience and you have a MacBook, GarageBand is a totally fine option. There's
Yeah.
also other free software that is available. I forget the names of them. I think one's called Reaper,
Yeah,
and
Reaper
there's a
3.
few others that I know people use for life because they just get used to them.
Mm.
So there's really nothing fancy or expensive that you need to get going. It's just a small upfront investment to get yourself set up. And then if you're not going to be recording vocals, if you're just going to be producing, then I would say invest in a decent set of plugins like an
Mm.
isotope bundle or a waves bundle. Something, again, doesn't have to be super expensive or fancy, but just something to get you going so that you can at least start getting in there and tinkering and understanding how to use these tools and really speed up your process.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And then what would you say? Like, how much would you say? Like 400 or 500 bucks, kind of like as an initial investment to get into this.
Yeah, I would say on the upper amount. I would say you could probably do it for less. Probably do
Yeah.
it for 250, and if you get offhand or secondhand items, from Facebook or from
Oh yeah.
friends, you could do
Hmm.
it for even less. So you don't need anything fancy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel when I first got started into recording, I still have my first audio interface. It doesn't even work anymore, but I kept it. And
Nice.
my duet by Apogee. So I spent like almost 700 bucks on that thing,
Yeah.
and then I made a big mistake. I bought a pickup for my violin, and it was like 200 bucks, and
Hmm.
it sounded really bad.
Hmm.
Um, so a violin is a very tricky instrument to record. Like it sound it sound really bad for a long time. So it's like a lot of work to get to understand how to really record,
Oh
like
yeah.
distance of your microphone and then EQing and all of this. So I think no matter, like, let's say if I had to give an advice to anyone, it's like that. No matter what your instrument is, you have to be willing to put a lot of time. It doesn't need to be all at once, but to be consistent in your work, you know, to
Sure.
always want to get better. And I think it's similar in also in content creation. And there's something that I heard when I first started also just creating content for YouTube. I'm sure most people know this guy, Mr. Beast. He's talked about this in an interview where he said, if you're gonna start creating content, it doesn't really matter. Like, you have to keep creating, but make sure that every time you create
Yeah.
something new, that it's a little bit better than
Yep.
the past piece of content that you created. And I think it's relevant for music, for recording. It's a very relevant advice, not just for video or content creation, but also when you compose, when you record. Try
Yeah.
to always better a little something. Is
Yeah, I
there
love
some?
that. No, go
Yeah,
ahead. Finish your thought.
no, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, is there like a place where, let's say, someone that is starting, where would you recommend them that they start? Like, what would be a very important point where you really want to get better at, like to put a lot of effort into a specific point when you start recording and producing
Yeah.
for licensing?
I would say, understand the different tools that are available to you. So, kind of do a bunch of research and become aware of all of the different tools and how they function. And I think that, so for example, right, you want to understand how a microphone works, right? You want to understand the difference between a dynamic and a condenser. So that way, should I buy a dynamic or should I buy a condenser, right? And so you're not just like picking something random and using it, right? So understand what an audio interface is and what it does. Understand what the different plugins do, at least at the simplest level, right? What does EQ do? What does compression do? What does, distortion do? And I think having this education, developing this vocabulary actually will help you to make more intuitive decisions and not be so reliant on best practices or things techniques that people tell you should do. You'll just kind of naturally develop a logical intuition based on your understanding of how things work. And luckily, that stuff's easy to acquire by just going and Googling things and making sure you understand the definitions, right? And so naturally, when you go in, if you understand what an EQ does, it'll be more intuitive that, like, oh, okay, if I want to use this EQ, I understand what it does. So my vocal sounds weird. Maybe I'll use an EQ, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's just, I think that's the first step, is just making yourself educated and aware of what the tools are that are available to you, how they work, and then you can practice them more organically and naturally and intuitively.
It also made me think while you were explaining all this that every plugins or most plugins have
Mm.
presets that you
Yeah.
can start from, and then you can learn from those presets and listen to, compare your dry track compared to once you add those plugins with certain preset. And most preset are labeled like vocals or strings or guitar,
Yeah.
different kind of things like this. And it's a really good starting point
Absolutely.
to learn. So, Gianfranco Signorelli, he's asking, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I've got my contact here on the next slide. So, yeah. So you can use that QR code to book a call directly, or you can send me an email at aloha@nismahosman.com and we can just chat. I'd love to hear your music and help you kind of craft a plan going forward.
Okay, I will also write it in the comment. Here we go. It also made me think. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Not that I want that I had the intention of plugging my sponsor in this conversation, but I'm partner with this company called Musiversal. Are you do you know about them?
Musiversal? No, I've never heard of them.
So basically, they are it's a company that hires session musicians a little bit all around the world, and
Mm.
they have a monthly subscription. I mean, it's not cheap, but if you're producing a lot of music, like I produce videos all the time, and then I get these. I get like that's basically a big part of my work.
Mm.
So I'm happy. I work with them. They have this monthly subscription. I think it's something like $200 per month,
Okay.
but then you can book as many sessions with these musicians as you want during
Oh,
those
cool.
2 months. So, and then they have mixing engineers as well, mastering engineer, and most musicians are also like multiple Grammy award winner musicians, and also the mixing engineer. So it's all like extremely high, talented, like highly
Yeah.
talented musicians, and there's also producers that you can meet with. Let's say if you have a melody, you compose the melody, or you have like lyrics, and now you just want someone to help you find a tune, or you need like, or
Yep.
you have like a guitar riff or something, and you need a producer to add. If you're not very familiar with producing your own beats and things
Yeah.
like this, they have all of these different kind of artists there just available, and the booking system is really great. And yeah, I've been working. I did like a lot of recordings with different people. One pianist especially that
Nice.
we really connected, and it's just a great place to get some knowledge, and also to get like amazing tracks. And you're also, as soon as they record those tracks for you, you own 100% of the publishing rights and all of that for those tracks too, so you don't have to
Wow.
worry about any of this. So
So
yeah,
now
it's pretty.
is a do you pay for the music or you get paid or uh how does that work? So you pay the
uh
subscription fee and then what does that get you just gets you access to these musicians?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's
So you don't have to pay them
access.
additional fees?
No, exactly.
Oh, wow, cool.
They are getting paid by this company basically.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. I think if you have something like really hard like to play, or like some very complex things, then you need to book like special sessions where like
Sure.
it's a lot more expensive, and then it's like those custom sessions. They also have or like full orchestra every month. Like there's an orchestra session where you can pay per, like I think it's like per 15 minutes. You
Mm.
send all your sheet music, and then you have an entire symphony orchestra playing
Wow,
like
cool.
in a recording studio, and you're also live with them while they record your music, like you're
Wow.
on a Zoom call.
So it's like a
um
souped up sound better for orchestral stuff.
yeah, 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 they have orchestral, they have, well, they have to be honest, they really have everything.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
you can do whatever you want with them. I did a string quartet. I did yeah, I did a bunch of different kind of projects, which and it always sounds just amazing. So
Yeah.
it's really, and it's just a really fun experience, even if you're like you don't necessarily like. Let's say if you have like a big mock-up in your computer, like you compose like this whole song in with a bunch of MIDI tracks, and you would really like to hear actual musicians playing this rather than hearing your computer playing those VSTs.
Yeah.
You can just take 1 month, book all those sessions, record all of it, and then it's just really satisfying to hear
Yeah.
professional musicians just playing your
I mean,
song.
for
So yeah,
200 bucks, yeah, that's a steal.
yeah, yeah, really, yeah.
Wow, cool.
Um, I had another question for you. Yeah, you were talking about, you don't need necessarily to compose a lot of music. You need to compose quality things. What would you like? What advice would you give to people that are so perfectionist that they keep, because I'm sure you've been through this too. I've been through this many times. Like
Yeah.
you start working on a song and it's just never good enough, and you never end up publishing it or posting it or sharing it with anyone, and you just end up getting discouraged at some point, and it just end up kind of sleeping in your hard drive forever, and then you start working on something else, and then you get stuck in that kind of chain where you just never put out anything.
Yeah. You know, I've definitely struggled with that. I think the thing that helped me is really learning that imperfect action is better than perfect ideas, right? Or that imperfect producing something imperfectly is better than an idea that's perfect, right? Or an ideal that's perfect, because an idea or an ideal doesn't really exist except in your head. So, I think it's part one is getting over the fear that, what you put out will be perceived negatively. And I think that will allow you to sort of give the stamp of doneness, right? And just trust that it's done, right? And the second thing is, I think having a trusted source of feedback really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have someone who you trust, whose opinion you trust, and they say it's done, then that makes it a little easier to let it fly out of the nest, right? So, but if it's just you in your head, and you're stuck in your own thoughts and your own doubt, then I think that that's a recipe for staying stuck.
Yeah, no, you're right. uh yeah, I feel the best example is when I was on tour. I had a lot of people and a lot of support around me, and I was recording a lot of music, and I never posted anything.
Mm,
So I was like, it's never good enough, never good enough, never good enough. And like I would have, like, we had a full recording studio, on tour with us too, because of how the setup was made. And I had everything,
yeah.
and then, but yeah, I never posted anything. And I realized when I started posting, like, about, I don't know, like 8 months ago, I started posting on YouTube, and we grew this channel super quickly. I
Yeah.
was like, if I started, like, 9 years
Years
ago, when
ago, I
I
know.
was, or 10, like, it's been 10 years now. When I started touring was 10 years, like a little bit more than 10 years ago now.
Yep.
I would be probably at, like, the channel would probably be at 1 million follower by now, or something like
Right.
this. Like, so that's one thing that you have to dare to just,
Yeah.
like, go for it. But yeah, the line is really, it's tricky to find the right balance between just, like, producing a bunch of kind of, like, things that is not good or, like, really average, or being so perfectionist that you don't end up posting anything.
Yeah.
And then you have to find, like, that right balance in the middle, where you're like, well, this is about as ready as it can get,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Totally. Takes practice though, I think. And it gets
it
easier.
Yeah, you're right, you need maturity, and also, yeah, a lot of personal experience. It's the same with everything, I guess, in the end.
Yeah.
Very good. Um,
Cool. Yeah, I don't
I
see
think
any
that's.
other questions in the chat.
I
Oh,
don't
there's
see
a
any other questions. That was also all my questions for you.
cool. I think we'll probably skip the hot seat because I don't see uh any of those folks here. But if you are watching and you want feedback on your music, just get in touch with me. I'm happy to sit with you for 15 minutes and go over your song and help you get some clarity and some next steps nailed down. So don't be a stranger.
Awesome. Well, that was so great. Thank you for sharing all your expertise and wisdom with us. I
Thank
know
you for having me.
it's a lot of work, like, I can tell you've, yeah, like, you've been putting your hours of energy in this. It's awesome, it's amazing.
what
Uh,
matters, you know, and it's if I can help one person, you know, on the next step of their journey, then it's all good, you know.
yes, and that stream is gonna be, available also on the channel for as long as the channel exists. So, like,
Awesome.
yeah, if you want to share the videos with, I'm talking to you, but also to anyone that is there right now, still live with us. If you know anyone that is interested in learning more about this, share the live with other people, and also feel free to reach out to Nisma, because she's amazing and very happy to help anyone. And yeah, I
Yeah,
would,
cool.
and yeah, would definitely recommend reaching out to her if you need anything related to this. She's definitely more knowledgeable than me in this area, and yeah, I trust her. So yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, thanks for that, and you know, let's do it, people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nisma. It was good to see you. I
Yeah, you
will
too.
see you next time. We'll talk soon, and
All
hopefully, we
right.
do something similar again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.